Hello everyone, RFG here with a review for BIOMORPH, a Metroidvania developed and published by Lucid Dreams Studios and released on PC, with console versions set for sometime later this year. While the hand-drawn art style and being able to use enemy powers can draw you in, that's not all BIOMORPH has to offer. You begin with Harlow breaking out of stasis in a laboratory. They're accompanied by Annie and Zeki, conscious cybernetic prosthetics for Harlow's arms. Harlow has amnesia, and though a large part of the story is about uncovering Harlow's past, the three characters have a good amount of personality to keep you entertained, but I'll get to that later. Going through the lab will introduce you to Harlow's key abilities like jumping, vital scan recovery or health refill, and locofication or dashing. In the beginning, dashing in the air has Harlow move in a downwards diagonal direction, so it's not all that great at covering horizontal air distance. You soon get a chip for melee attacks. While chips are mainly used for attacks, they do have other functions such as summoning a shield or attacking from a distance. Certain chips have limited use or charges and might have a specific cooldown period. You can assign up to 3 chips to inputs for their functions. Soon enough, you'll gain the BIOMORPH ability, and as I'd hope you'd expect, it does what it needs you to do to progress throughout the laboratory. In fact, the BIOMORPH ability gets used like this for most of the game. That doesn't mean it's not done well or that you won't have use for enemy abilities in other ways like puzzles, or battles, or exploration. Just that using enemy abilities are rarely used as a hindrance to retrieving an item or progressing the map. After narrowly escaping the laboratory, you'll be introduced to the post-apocalyptic Bmore town. It's relatively barren at first, but during your first time here shows off quests, map updates, and a more in-depth explanation of safes, the save points, and fast travel which upgrades safes to safeties. Completing questlines, meeting NPCs, finding and turning in blueprints will open up new buildings like shops or upgrades for them within Bmore. I mentioned Harlow's base abilities earlier, and you'll gain plenty of abilities beyond those as you make your way through BIOMORPH. I won't go through them all, as while they'll be used in creative ways, not having them is what'll usually hinder your progress. This leads to something that I really want to praise Lucid Dreams Studios for. The game is designed wonderfully for progression, rewards, and how to keep track of what you still need to return to. BIOMORPH offers you a seemingly infinite number of pins to place on the map for you to track places of interest. Its other automatic markers update immediately. A golden border outlines the room area when it's complete. Enemy abilities rarely need to be used outside of an enemy's area, and being able to assign 3 BIOMORPHs to Harlow at a time make for a progression that almost always felt meaningful to me. To unlock an enemy for use as a BIOMORPH, you simply have to absorb a certain amount of them depending on the type, after defeating them. Keep in mind that each enemy spawns in its own location, and respawned enemies don't count for gaining a BIOMORPH. A limited amount is needed to unlock them as a BIOMORPH, but respawned enemies that have been absorbed also become stronger or gain a new attack. While this may seem typical for a lot of games and serves as a reminder if you're already able to equip an enemy BIOMORPH, this also means absorbing more of an enemy type leads to upgrades for a BIOMORPH such as more damage or more enemy ability charges. Chips, much like BIOMORPHs, can also be upgraded, but those upgrades will be found mostly through quests, enemy challenges, and shops. They tend to be for more damage, more charges, and or shorter cooldown. Momentos, which serve as augments such as increase in base attack or quicker ways to refill your health, are similar to chips in that they're mostly earned through the same means. Equipping Momentos isn't limited to a number of slots. Instead, each one has a number of points assigned, and Harlow has a limited amount of points available to use for equipping them. Upgrades for chips and Momentos can be bought once certain buildings have been upgraded. I kept my chip layout relatively the same throughout my time with BIOMORPH, even though there's a good variety of options. But I did adjust my Momentos often, especially if I felt a boss fight incoming or after a loss at one. That's not to say that boss fights are hard. In fact, the overall difficulty is fairly light, and you're not punished much after a death. Even after death, the loss of plaques, the main in-game currency you earn throughout, isn't particularly threatening since your death will mostly be close to a safe station and makes them easy to retrieve. There are sections that might prove to be a bit difficult, but nothing that I can't see anyone powering through after an attempting to. As long as you have plenty of save points active and upgraded as safeties, Those do cost points to unlock fast travel, by the way, and the only way to earn more is upgrading the building. Most players should be fine. Speaking of fine, despite the post-apocalyptic story, Harlow's amnesia, and some of the game settings, most of the characters seem to be pretty well adjusted. Annie and Zeki keep Harlow company in the mood light, but Harlow isn't a broody main character, and the three characters together have enough snark to keep the humor up throughout the game. A lot of the characters ended up being entertaining for their own reasons. There wasn't much I can think of in terms of sound that really stood out, but the music didn't catch my attention until I spent time listening to the tracks you received by finding Will in odd places. A lot of the music tends to pick up at the 1 or 2 minute mark and fits the various areas rather well, but I just didn't notice until I actually spent time listening to them at the jukebox in the Bmore bar. Besides that, there were certain areas that may have annoyed me, and my own stubbornness got in the way of me looking past moving on certain sections before deciding I need to, and certain biomorphs that I just really didn't enjoy. But BIOMORPH is a solid Metroidvania. While that may not sound like a glowing endorsement, I will add that just part of the way through made me want to 100% the game. Even when I started to think I should rush through a bit so I can make this review, I kept stopping to explore further because the game felt like it was designed to make me want to fully complete it. BIOMORPH's quality of life features, sense of humor, area design based on enemy abilities versus earned abilities, and a constant feeling of being rewarded through making progress thinks that this is worth playing for most fans of Metroidvanias. If you're looking for something a bit more challenging, you won't really find that here, but if you're looking for a generally great all-around experience, this might hit that spot. There's plenty to explore for completionists, and every bit of progress feels rewarding, and I think that says a lot for the game itself. As usual, that's it for me. Let me know what you think below. Thanks. Bye.